My name is Jimmy Muropa. I work for Conservation Society of Monavale. I'm actually the Monavale Vlei Scout, or the conservation officer, if you would put it that way as well. We are here on Monavale Vlei. It's looking very beautiful and amazing with all the biodiversity that we find here. The one thing that these wetlands provide is water. And water is very important because water sustains life. Monavale Vlei is located, I think, 4.2 kilometers from the CBD. It's very close to the city center. And the size of Monavale Vlei, the core area is about 34.4 hectares.
Today, Jimmy is a knowledgeable and confident guide to the Monavale Vlei.
Well, at first there was a lot of confusion on my part because I didn't know anything about wetlands. I didn't know anything about birds. I didn't know much about the environment except a few things. But along the way, I quickly learned because I was provided the resources that I needed in terms of books, my equipment and everything. So over time, I actually learned quickly, more so spending much of the time on the Vlei, sometimes alone. From there, it's just evolved up to now.
Monavale Vlei is a Ramsar site, a group of 2,500 wetlands around the world, which are considered to be of international importance under the 1971 Ramsar Convention. Zimbabwe is a party to this convention, which commits members to conserve important wetlands in their home country.
So I'm happy to say that in Zimbabwe we've got 7 Ramsar sites. The first one being where we are, Monavale Vlei. The second one, the most famous one, Victoria Falls, Manapuz, Drewfontein in Chivu. Then we've got Lake Chivero, we've got Cleveland Dam. Then the last one is Chirorodziwa. Well, that's a Shona name, I'll tell you, but that's Shinoe Caves. The simple definition is that that's an area that is temporal or permanent surface water. And these examples include springs, rivers, lakes, dams, and these marshy areas are just behind me. If you come during the dry season when it's not raining, this Marimba stream will be flowing. The water is slowly released underground. The soils of wetlands are more like a sponge, you know? So when it rains, it holds the water. So when the water is actually sinking into the ground, the plants, the grasses, the sages that you find on wetlands, as it sinks into the ground, it's pulled down, it is actually filtered and cleaned. That's a natural process. And they also prevent siltation as well. So we equate them as water banks. Also what they do is they are a habitat of plants and animals. And people also appreciate them for their aesthetic value. They've got cultural significance, actually. Yet in others, they also get medicines. An amazing job that wetlands do every day, and we don't realize that. It's a cliche, without water, there's no life. So we need to take care of our wetlands so that we do have that water that we desperately need.
As part of his duties, every Saturday morning, Jimmy welcomes kids from the surrounding areas to the Cosmo Kids Club, where they learn about the unique role wetlands play and explore the biodiversity to be found on the Vlei.
My name is Moses Chapwana Shikanyepi, Upper 6 at Ellis Robbins. Right now, I stay just after Mary Park. Me, I started doing Cosmo 2009. Basically, you can just say it's a club for Cosmo kids, youngsters, most probably below the age of 18, but then everybody's allowed. Wetlands are really important, especially for Harare because they've purified the water, not talking about the habitat for the animals, the mammals, even the little things that we find in the water, snakes as well, yeah, different things, different species, even the birds as well.
He's one young man that I can testify to that has understood the value of these wetlands, and he knows much about the wetlands, much of the birds, the biodiversity that you find there, and that's amazing.
Moses is already knowledgeable about the birds of the Vlei, and many unusual and unique species exist in this environment.
In Zimbabwe, I think we've got about 676 bird species. We have got an amazing avifauna in Zimbabwe, which is fantastic for me. We have the very elusive streaky-breasted fluffy-toes, which a lot of visitors actually from South Africa or anywhere from the world, they come because they love this kind of like habitats, as well as the striped quail. It's not only about enjoying the birds, but they do tell us something. They indicate the healthy nature of an ecosystem.
The Vlei is seasonal. As the year progresses, surface water gradually dries up and the grasses die back as winter approaches. With the dry, dead grasses of reeds, another man-made threat to the Vlei comes in the form of fire, which can be devastating to the insects and birds that are resident on the Vlei. To help conserve the Vlei, residents from surrounding communities persist in regular cleanups where rubbish is removed from the wetland. 20 kilometers away, Ecological is working to protect and conserve the Buduhuro Vlei, which is under severe threat from development and agriculture.
Nzvimbo yatiri inoi inonzi budiriro, ibani remubudiriro. Rinotangira kuHaglen uko richidzika kusvikira tasvika kupurazi rekanzuru kunochengetwa mombe.
Claude and Jimmy are both part of the Harare Wetlands Trust, a growing network of individuals working to protect and conserve the remaining wetlands of the city. They coordinate efforts and lobby for stricter controls on development in protected wetland areas. Celestino Chari is the director of the trust.
We've got water shortages in Harare. All these things are being caused by the destruction of wetlands. The purification aspect of the wetlands is no longer there.
The first thing that we need to understand is that we are in a climate crisis. And the importance of us looking after wetlands is for the sustainability of water provisioning into the rivers that then feeds into those dams. The permanent solution is to look after the catchments, is to look after the wetlands and protect them so that they continue providing the services that they do in terms of water provisioning, in terms of flooding.
Monavale Vlei supplies two rivers, the Muropa and the Little Muropa, which drain large areas of the western suburbs of Harare and feed into Lake Chivero, Harare's main water supply dam.
Because we are sitting on top of our drinking water, that's where Harare was sited.
Worryingly, Harare was built on its own headwater wetlands. That is, on the very sources of the rivers the city relies on. The main rivers feeding Harare are the Mandame, the Nesime, the Marimba, and the Mukuvizi. Hundreds of small streams and tributaries arise in the city and flow into these rivers. So any pollution, contamination, or siltation produced in the city flows directly into Chivero, our main water supply, with alarming implications.
If you don't take care of the upstream wetland ecosystems, it actually affects what happens downstream.
Tikatarisa izvozvi, mapani waya ari kurimwa sekuona kwamuri kungoita. Jecha rakawanda, guku raivhu riri kuitika. Nzizi dzosopedzera dzazara, mvura haichaerera. Tikaenda kuLake Chivero, siltation inonzi yatove pa 4 meters. Kureva kuti mvura yese yatenge tichiona chiti Lake Chivero yakazara nemvura. Aiwa, haisi mvura yose, pazasi 4 meters dzese inotove jecha.
So you find when it's raining, we are happy that we've got a lot of rainfall. But come 3 months, 4 months down the lines, you start to hear that Lake Chivero is now off. It's almost gone.
When you cultivate on wetlands, you are removing that biodiversity in place of one plant, like it's mostly maize, sometimes sweet potatoes, you are removing all that. And it exposes the soil to erosion. That's why we are finding a lot of our situation in Lake Chivero.
Agriculture is widely practiced on Vleis in Zimbabwe, but this has major negative consequences for both the ecology and the water supply. The natural ecosystems are destroyed and pesticides and chemicals seep into the water supply, contaminating groundwater, and requiring ever larger amounts of chemicals for purification.
City of Harare is using more than 5 chemicals to treat their water. And, the biggest challenge that we're having is the chemicals that are coming from urban agriculture are finding their way into Lake Vero.
And much of the chemicals, we import them, and that's a lot of foreign currency. That's why we see sometimes our water bills are very high.
And that basically means it's almost taking 3/4 of the budget of City of Harare just to treat our water. And then we have a compromise service delivery in other issues like waste management and education and awareness.
Construction on wetlands is a threat across Zimbabwe, as we lose more and more of our wetlands every year, damaging our water supply and increasing the risks of both flooding and drought.
Building on wetlands is actually a huge problem. I call them concrete jungles because you are removing all the biodiversity and putting on concrete.
Bani rineri tiri kushamisika kuti tiri kuona vanhu vari kuvaka, asi kana takaritarisa zvinongoratidza kuti inzvimbo yekuti haifanirwa kunge ichivakwa nokuti matoro mapani edu ndiwo anotipa mvura.
Our own laws, they are there to protect wetlands, but there are a few loopholes that are there that we are looking at, and we always engage government so that we preserve our wetlands. There's no need to have an EIA on a wetland. That's it, for me.
Rubbish dumped on the Vlei clogs up waterways and also contaminates the groundwater, creating health hazards for residents who rely on boreholes for their drinking water.
There's a bore, which is a source of water, I think, to almost 200,000 households which are around here. There's a dumping site just next to the bore.
Globally, the world is beginning to find ways of tackling the looming threat of climate change. But healthy wetlands play a major role in sequestering carbon.
Also, wetlands act as carbon sinks. We have heard that forests, they hold carbon, which is very correct, but wetlands actually hold more carbon than forests put together. So that's a very important thing because it mitigates against climate change.
We have got serious challenges in terms of climate change right now. You can see the rainfall patterns, the weather, sometimes suddenly it's hot and all that. So it's all our biodiversity, our ecological infrastructure that has been disturbed by the occupation of the wetlands. We've got water shortages in Harare. All these things are being caused by the destruction of wetlands. The purification aspect of the wetlands is no longer there. It's compromised.
But though the fire has been devastating, the wetland is resilient and has a remarkable capacity to restore itself. With the first summer rains, new green sheets appear from the charred earth and surface water accumulates once more, providing a habitat for insects and frogs and attracting a wide variety of bird life.
Well, we should have many Vlei scouts or conservation officers all over Zimbabwe, Harare specifically as well, and doing the work, education awareness, because if you don't have water, it comes from wetlands. So if you don't have water, we are doomed. So we should have a lot of jimmies around.
Mvura chinhu chekuti hatigone kugara tisina. Kana ari magetsi tinogona kutenga huni, asi kana iri mvura haina substitute.
So when we have intact wetlands, then we are able to have water for different purposes.
We hope for the best. We are very encouraged by the commitment from the government to come up with the policy, to come up with the guidelines, and also the wetlands map. And we hope things will be much better. What the government needs to do now is to try to make a commitment financially and also to accommodate stakeholders in their consultations as we go forward to protect the wetlands.
Stop developments on wetlands, stop cultivation. That's the immediate thing. It can be easily done where there is the will. Once you destroy wetlands, you destroy the part of Jimmy as well. That makes me angry.